We've always seen Chris as cool and collected, but there have been times where he couldn't help but lash out. And one of the guys responsible for that was Victor Wells. You see, Chris was pretty calm throughout the sting, though you could see him struggling to not lose it as he read out the chat logs.
Start out in your chat log saying that you're a little bit concerned.
Did you see how slyly he made that loser realize what he did while staying so frickin' calm? If I were Chris, I'd have totally lost my cool right then and there. I mean, seriously, how does one stay so frickin' chill? But man, things did get worse as Chris continued to read the disgusting conversation Victor had with the setup. Obviously, there is a limit to everyone's patience, and shockingly enough, Chris was very close to losing. Just when you thought Victor would give up, he started to manipulate Chris into believing his story.
So just a role play, just a fantasy thing, that's all that was.
Just a role-play fantasy.
Damn it, what? This guy was trying to convince Chris that the age debacle was just roleplay. I mean, of course, we all know he's lying, but just look at the balls this prick had. Apparently, they're big, and he wanted to show them. Despite being caught red-handed, Victor still cooked up random stories to try and get out of this sticky situation he found himself in. While he insisted that the setup was old enough, he had no idea that Chris already had the chat logs ready to go.
So after you're all concerned about her being 12, your tone shifts.
You see how there was a whole shift in the tone of his voice? Yeah, that's Chris on his very last nerve. I mean, seriously, just listen to that disgusting chat history. How can you even say that to anyone, let alone the kind of person the setup praying?
Ask her if she's looking for some company for the weekend.
Oh man, Victor totally had that one coming. And I have a feeling he kinda knew it too. Even though he knew how old she was, he still had the guts to show up at the house with a camera, a pack of bottles, food. Oh, and of course, the le piece de resistance, a freaking love glove. Damn, what is up with these guys? Literally, pick on someone your own age. The fact that he had the skins alone is proof of intent, and that was the last straw for Chris. He finally lost it and went off on this guy. And trust me, he beyond deserved it at this point.
Now, come on, who are you talking to here? She says she's 12, you talk about her, she doesn't give you any indication she's not, there's no indication of role-playing.
Pretty nutso how quick Chris reached his breaking it. Let's take a look at what went down here. Chris started yelling at Victor because the guy just couldn't accept that his roleplay was as real as it got. Dude, we can all see the desperation on you. It ain't a good look, that's for certain. By this point, Victor had to have known he was in trouble. Oh, but wait, there's more. Wait till you hear the excuse he gave for bringing the camera.
Wanted to bring her to lunch and take a couple of pictures for her profile.
Oh, please. He claimed it was just for some innocent profile pics, but come on. You know what he really wanted to use it for, and so did Chris. Tons of folks were both shocked and pleasantly surprised that Chris for once actually got real mad and loud, as evidenced by this comment. Admittedly, that's not something we really get to see. Considering Chris deals with guys like Victor all day, every day, you'd think he'd seen it all. Apparently not someone as vile as Victor. As for me, I totally get where this anger was coming from. After everything that went down in the chat logs, claiming that he only wanted to be friends was the lamest thing he could have said in his defense. You're right on the money, Adam. Chris was absolutely right to fly off the handle here, considering how doggedly defensive the guy was about his intentions. Sadly for him, that fantasy only served to put him behind bars, where he belonged. However, this next guy pulled a different stunt. There were no lame excuses, no blunt lies. Instead, John Wesley thought he was the king of comedy. Sorry to break it to you, John. Nobody's laughing.
You were asking me about what I was daydreaming about. Well, that's it. You nude and me licking you.
Oh, if only we were able to punch guys like this through our screens. I'm sure Chris would appreciate the help. Don't feel too bad for feeling that way though, because this guy really did deserve it. You see, John had been spewing all sorts of disgusting stuff in the chats and kept it up even at the sting house.
Gosh, you're pretty.
Right off the bat, Chris was on the verge of losing it. Started to read the chats and oh boy, you could see that he wanted to strangle the life out of him right then and there. But before I reveal what actually went down, humor me and let me keep building up that suspense. Just as Chris started to confront this huge piece of garbage, John started rolling out the excuses.
Well, just everything in my life is it's all screwed up.
I mean, is this guy for real? Blaming your lot in life for bringing you here? Yeah, I go again, buddy. As Chris kept questioning him, John started crapping his pants. Figuratively, I mean, but he was probably close in life, stumbling over a story like that. Gotta hand it to Chris, though. He knew exactly how to handle the sitch and was doing a damn good job at it. But it was time for Chris to bring out the big gun. This guy denied every accusation thrown at him, despite having an online paper trail a mile long. But things were about to get even more heated. While you've seen a few of these guys sweating bullets and others trying to bounce at first opportunity, this one pulled something new out of his hat. Oh man, did you see that? Chris asked him something really serious. And how did this moron act? Tried to laugh it off like it was no big deal. That's gonna look good in court, buddy. At this point, I'd love for someone to knock some sense into his small brain and explain to him that it wasn't a joke. He was right in the middle of a legit sting op. There's nothing funny about it, except for us. But wait, isn't that Chris's his job? To give these jerks a hard reality check? Well, we're gonna get there. It baffles me how this guy thought he could simply joke his way out of a situation as dire as this. Just who was this guy fooling? Anyway, I have nothing to complain about, because his actions only made things worse, especially for himself. That's when Chris hit his braking and decided to remind this moron of something really important.
This is funny?
No,
It's a big joke.
Gave me chills too, and I didn't even do anything wrong. John's gotta be feeling it at this point. All it takes is just a good stare down, and Chris can put another level of fear in the worst. Chris had him cornered, and his lies exposed. Despite all that though, John had the nerve to suggest something.
that fast in the back of my head.
This guy got caught up in a big old giggle fit after saying that. Got zero self-awareness. At that point, Chris lost it completely. Some viewers were really shocked by his response, but a ton more really enjoyed Chris's flying on handle. Like this guy said, Chris was at the top of his game. Hard agree, my guy. I don't know about the killing part though. Did I mention that he actually did call Chris a therapist though?
You're a therapist, I know. I mean, not
You
just.
think I'm a therapist?
Yeah, that did happen. Either way, it didn't end well. Nor will it end well for his next freak, a postman who came knocking at the door. But hold up,
What are you up to?
Nothing whatsoever.
doesn't have any letters to deliver. This freak right here is Eugene Daly, and while I say he was a postman, turns out at the time of this sting, Eugene was unemployed. I'm sure he must have done something crazy to get sacked. This guy thought he'd hit the beach to get some hot action, but guess who we bumped into? Chris, of course, and he wasted no time in bursting Eugene's bubble. You see, on that particular day, Chris woke up and chose to be brutal, and I don't blame him. Had it been me, I'd do the same thing too, and probably worse. Because this loser's chats were another level of disgusting. And if I paid you guys, I don't think you'd believe me. He literally said that she was the daughter he never had. Like, there are layers of ick to unpack in that sentence. He went on saying, I want to touch you, hold you, and whatnot. This guy was a freak of the highest order. You know what? Chris Hansen was right to get mad at this guy. Right from the get-go, his anger was rising.
You only come over a half hour because you gotta pick up your wife.
I wasn't gonna, I was saying.
Where's your wife?
I told you, right? You could literally see the guy turning red. And I gotta admit, I absolutely do love it when Chris goes off on this guy. He's had it coming for ages at this point. He even tried to say that he'd go pick up his wife from work in half an hour. Well, she's gonna be waiting a long time. No truck ain't gonna be home today. Instead, it's headed straight to the police station for a special delivery. Chris was in no mood to listen to this guy's dumb excuses or how he knew it was all a setup. Yeah, right, that's why you showed up here, right? Chris knew this dude needed a wake-up call, and he had no choice but to be hard on him because this guy started freaking out, screaming, shouting, trying everything to get out of the sitch. But let me tell you, there's no escaping Chris. He'll be dragging him straight to jail. But hey, maybe your wife will come pick you up from the station.
No. Well, yeah.
Yeah, what's
that's
right
cool. I
here?
can stand.
Now, Chris was livid since the dude wanted to go all the way with her within the next half hour. Like he was that desperate just to get into her pants. Remember how he said that he saw her like a daughter? Ugh. Gag. Alabama, maybe. After the cameras came out, this guy started blaming Chris for ruining life. Chris didn't make you come out here, dude. Viewers really did enjoy the episode, since it's not every day guys like him lose their minds completely. Also, this comment does kind of convey those feelings pretty well. You know what? I actually want to watch the unedited version too, because if it was too crazy for TV, you know the drama had to have been beautiful. Another viewer talked about how guys like Eugene assume that Chris is the setup's dad. Ignorance or stupidity. Anyway, if it actually was Chris's kid on the show, these guys wouldn't make it out of the Sting house alive. If he's getting this heated about a setup, I don't even want to imagine what happened if it was his own. Let's indulge in one last comment and move on to the next guy on our list. The daughter he never had. Make it so much worse. Yeah, you and me both, buddy. Again, layers of... I can't even imagine saying something like this, getting what he wanted, and then pretending like nothing happened while picking up his wife. People actually exist, people. They actually do. This next guy's the same level of vile as Eugene, but for a completely different reason. When it came to Jean-Pierre Michael, it almost felt like he was backpacking somewhere. Or like Chris said, it almost felt like he went to an eco-challenge. I mean, just take a look at how he showed up. Had a cap and a bag on, like, dude, where are you coming from?
He had called you just out of the blue?
The moment Chris started questioning everything and anything that comes out of your mouth, know this, you're in deep, deep trouble. The excuse this guy spun for being inside the house was that he got a call from someone unexpected and came here looking for a job. No clue how he made that up on the spot. Dude must love improv as much as hiking. But those classes were a huge waste of time since Chris had a copy of all the chats with him. No escaping now there, bro.
So you want to tell me the real story now?
That might be the most sassy I've seen Chris in quite some time. That sly smile, tapping the papers on the counter, he was doing that to intimidate this loser, and it actually did work, because his story started going all over the place. At that point, his goose was cooked. Still, he thought that everybody would buy his BS and he'd be able to walk out of the place scot-free. That's never been the case, and John certainly isn't going to be the first away. John? Gene? I don't know. Now, are you guys ready for the most iconic dialogue ever?
I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC.
You Look at Michael's face. He knew he was screwed, and his lies weren't helping. The fake name, the fake personality, it's gotta be the most made-up story you ever did hear. And get this, dude already had a record. He was in prison for a while, too. And yet here he was, making the same mistake again. Hope you like jails, and she'll be going back there even longer now. Now, it's time for my favorite part. The look on their faces when Chris starts reading the transcripts are always priceless. Totally agree right there. You can actually see the light fade from their eyes the minute Chris reads out the chats, when they figure out there's no way out. Not to mention how shocked they must be that Chris got a hold of them. Can we all take the time to appreciate Chris for knowing that we all enjoy watching him dig himself a deeper hole? Another viewer thinks that Chris roasts these jerks just to improve ratings. I mean, so what? Like, I'm totally here for deserve it. For the final guy on my list today, we have Kevin Westerbeck, who is here to meet Destiny. Oh, he'd meet his destiny, alright.
Sentenced to prison once already.
Oh, man, I really did bet Chris to be fuming this hard. Like, look at his face and especially his eyes. What's got him this riled up, you might ask? Well, Kevin came to the house to meet Destiny, but get this, he had a court hearing the next week for quite literally the same thing he was already here for. Yeah, that's right, this wasn't his first time round the block. Guess he decided to try his luck one last time. But dude must have put it all on black when the roulette came up red, since all he got was more trouble and far more jail time.
I was just talking.
Just talking.
Well, man, I wouldn't want to be in Kevin's shoes right now. Chris unleashing all his anger has got to be horrifying. He definitely didn't hold back, and rightly so, because this dude didn't deserve an ounce of sympathy. I mean, even in the chat logs, it was beyond disgusting. Destiny would ask him something innocent, and Kevin would somehow turn it into something explicit. I mean, I'm pissed after reading that. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely cannot stand hearing this stuff. No wonder Chris was in rage mode. Kevin kept coming up with one excuse after another. Come on, we all know exactly what he was there for. The trap was set, and now it's shut on him.
I was just gonna plan on meeting her, say hi, how you doing, and that's
Hi, how
it.
you doing?
Kevin kept repeating that he did nothing wrong and was just there for no reason. Chris wasn't buying it. Dude was going around in circles. When Chris revealed that it was all part of the show, Kevin was in complete shock. He realized that this meant more trouble for him, with a longer sentence and a lifetime where everybody would know who he truly was. Ugh, caught red-handed and there was no escaping. Anyway, I don't think anyone else but Chris could roast these guys with a straight face. Ever witness a pair of losers getting grilled together? Now, you might think of a few guys like Sebastian Rodriguez with his tag-along friend who just couldn't stop sipping on his energy drink. But also there's Polkit Mathur, who brought his buddy along to take a dip in the hot tub. Today, though, I'm talking about Yasmin Ismail. Now, this dude didn't show up with his friend like the ones I just spoke about, but that doesn't mean he didn't meet anyone like-minded.
Tennis Boy 213. And Tennis Boy, this is Slave to Mistress, right?
Well, that was awkward. I just strolling up to the house to meet someone special, and then this is what you find. Definitely not part of the plan, am I right? Yasmin was at a loss for words. Took him an entire minute to realize what was happening. Oh, and then he finally decided to speak, but Chris was in no mood to listen.
Well, it sure seems like he had a lot of plans in this chat.
As for the other moron here, he lost all his patience. When he tried to make a move, you won't believe how Chris shut him down.
I made the decision to come in here, but I'm going to get back with you in a minute because I have a couple questions for you. What were you planning on doing here tonight?
Might just be the kind of way to say shut up, but a level of sass unparalleled. Yasmin, being the idiot that he was trying to act all stupid, like, "Hello, what's happening here? Maybe I don't belong here. Can I pretty please weave? Oh, whoa." I feel saying that. Either way, the other dude made sure to make things crystal clear for him.
But Khan clearly knows what's coming.
Yeah, we're both gonna get arrested.
Hell, at least one of the sickos got the memo. Meanwhile, the TCAP community was going nuts over Chris's wit and humor in the best possible way. Most viewers joined in on the fun and said these weirdos probably hung out together long after their prison time. One user was quoted as saying, "Lamau, you describing them sticking together after their arrest in prison would be a great premise for a movie, LOL." LOL indeed. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. As Yasmin was cooling his heels behind bars, a whole brand new chapter was gearing up on the other side. This time I'm talking about a teacher who wasn't into the traditional teaching gig. Dude was bringing a whole new level of excitement to the table, and for him there were no boundaries between edumacation and something much more disturbing.
Good? Tough drive?
This is Stanley Kendall, a grandpa-looking figure, and his entire interview with Chris was an entire mess. Stanley really thought he'd be taking special classes that day, but guess who walked in to take his case?
What was the lesson plan for tonight?
I'm sorry.
Sorry for what?
Chris didn't skip a beat before laying down the savagery and giving Stanley a piece of his mind. And it didn't end there. Chris, in an assertive tone, made sure Stanley understood what he'd done and how wrong it actually was.
This was a joke.
You thought what was a joke?
I should have known better.
A joke? You kidding me? The actual joke was you coming here thinking you had a shot at getting whatever the heck you thought you'd get from here. Now, let's not forget that he's the same guy who shared an up-teen number of graphic images of himself with the setup before actually hitting the wheels and driving all the way around town. Crazy to think that this dude was in the teaching profession for 23 long years. His students were about the same age as the one he'd come to meet, too. Sad to see that the schools aren't as safe as we'd all like to believe thanks to sickos like this one. Weirdos like Stanley have turned places of learning into an entire circus. Just when this loser realized he had no way out, he brought out the religion card. But Chris decided to call him on his BS.
So what part of the Bible tells you to say all this kind of stuff here in the chat?
Sorry boss, no God's gonna save your face today. If this idiot didn't make you feel sick, get ready for the next one. We got a real crybaby who refused to own up to anything here.
Yeah. Do you walk around? Come in.
This wimp who couldn't even bring himself to set foot in the house was none other than Corey Edgar. After giving it a lot of thought, he finally mustered the courage to walk himself into the house. But guess what? That confidence did not last long. Chris was all set to start him off with some slow blows.
I wasn't planning on any of this.
Good. I want to hear the whole story.
At first, Corey was hell-bent on the idea that he didn't do anything wrong, but that came to a full stop when Chris read his chats out aloud. And this is what the moron had to say.
I never knew a young female like yourself would like that. And then you show some reservations. I'm not arresting you.
Crybaby here started blaming anyone but himself, and that's when Chris decided to put him in his place.
My fault. It's not her fault.
Not your fault, Rick. You kept going with the conversation about your story.
Because I was going to get cigarettes.
Whoa, it's weird to see Chris absolutely mad, and he's absolutely mad at this guy, and really, who wouldn't be? This bozo was whining and crying like a little kid who got caught with his hands in the chocolate jar or something like that. Just the sound of his voice is annoying. He has a very punchable face, too. Either way, there was no stopping him. Just went on and on and on and on and on and on about how he was never gonna come here, and all he wanted to do was go fishing. Guess he got caught in the net, you idiot.
Fishing.
What, you thought they sold cigarettes at this house?
No.
Do you think they sell gas at this house?
No, I did not.
Right on the money, Chris. No way you can mistake a whole damn house for a grocery store. Seriously though, that's just ridiculous. Chris was fully aware that Corey would be arrested as soon as he made his exit, but despite that, he had to throw in a single last blow.
I just feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Well, that's maybe another good reason to go outside.
Oh, that was a good one. Really worth it. Corey was quite the character, and he definitely deserved every bit of the humiliation thrown his way. But this next guy is gonna give him a run for his money in that department. Allow me to introduce you to Jesse Velez, and this was his reason to be at the house.
What was your plan today? Nothing, actually. Just to hang out.
Yeah, sure, why not? Wait, what was the whole deal with the chat logs then? What you gotta say about that, huh? Well, it turns out Jesse had some issues with his memory. And Chris here? Well, he was ready to shred him to bits.
Ugh. I didn't mean to do that.
Ooh, was right.
Yeah.
Classic Chris right there, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Make matters worse, Jesse decided lying was a good idea, and we all know how much Chris hates liars.
Bunch of pictures of me.
Right.
So I must have hit that, but I didn't really know why.
So this was just one big mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my man starting to get mad, but that's not stopping Chris from trolling the hell out of Jesse.
This is just one big misunderstanding.
This is the
and
biggest.
the first time you've
this is
ever
the
had
biggest
such
I ever
a
walked into someone's house.
Every minute that passed, Jesse only was getting more annoying, though. We didn't want to take any amount of responsibility for his actions whatsoever, but obviously Chris wasn't going to back down on this loser as of yet. To make things more embarrassing, Chris started pointing out different things that the loser could have done instead of coming here.
Who actually even lives there? That's to be honest. Don't do the same thing to other people that you wouldn't want done to you.
Jeez, it's about being a hypocrite. So this dude here was talking about how you gotta be careful with trespasses and stuff like that, and yet he himself walked right into the sting house. I hate people like this so much. Well, either way, Jesse was putting up some major acting skills, and for a second it did look like he was disgusted by his own actions, but we all know that there's absolutely no truth in that. Actually surprised to see Chris keeping his calm throughout the whole interview. Sadly for Jesse though, his bullshit story did not get him too far, and neither did this next guy who probably picked the best outfit he had, only to get arrested in it.
Take a seat.
I'm right here standing.
That's our Thomas Coffin. For some reason, though, Chris clearly couldn't wait any longer and popped up right in front of him. Chris confronted this moron about the disgusting pictures he sent, and apparently it was nothing but a big mistake. Sure it was. Oh wait, you won't believe what he said next, though.
I'm a person, I don't like getting in any trouble, big.
Sorry? Did you just say that you're not someone who gets into trouble? I don't think you should be too sure about that, man. Because if that was the case, what the heck are you doing here? Let's not forget about all the nasty stuff you said online. It's really freaking gross, actually. Either way, it looks like Chris feels the same way as I do, which is why this is what he said next.
Well, how could you expect not to get into trouble by setting up a date?
Yeah, tell him, Chris. I want to see this guy cry. Know what Thomas said, though? Well, apparently it was his cousin who shared the messages and not him. Come on, dude. It's like the lamest excuse in the book. Why isn't your cousin here, then? I mean, it's time for some honesty, for real. And can we please just cut the poor cousin some slack? I'm sure he's actually quite a lovely person. Only crime he's guilty of is being related to this idiot who's clearly got a wild imagination.
Stuff underneath my name, too.
You're not trying to tell me that you didn't have this conversation.
I typed this.
You typed this.
There was no intentions.
Do you think Chris was really that stupid to believe his story? In your dreams, jackass. Guess what he was carrying in that little pocket of his, though? A love glove. Yet, though, he had the nerve to say that he always had one on him. At all times. What Chris does next made the loser rethink every decision he made that led up to this point, though.
You always carry them right here in your breast pocket. But for easy access?
No.
This guy just lost his whole train of thought because his actual truth came out and he knew he was screwed. It's honestly pretty disheartening to witness these guys roll up to the house with absolutely no shame whatsoever. Chris, though, well, he's got this uncanny knack for handling them. Moving on, though, he's ready to tackle the next addition to the loser lineup.
So good.
Did you make them?
Yeah, I made it myself.
Alright, I eat one. I like chocolate chip.
This loser got real comfy real fast, and his name is David Schumacher. This wannabe Eminem was in for a ride for sure. Users over the interwebs have no chill whatsoever, and this one user comments how David walked into the house like he was about to record his debut album. Like, that's how confident he was. It was massive. What's more, dude had cranked up the rudeness level to the max, but he had no idea who he was dealing with. And Chris decided to shut him down in the most iconic of ways.
To the birthday party.
Who are you?
I'll get to that in a minute.
The amount of attitude this guy had surprises me. So much attitude, and for what? Couldn't even come by himself. He literally had to make his sister drive him here. Despite that, though, he had the audacity to threaten Chris. For what? Haven't exposed you? Looking stupid? By this time, the arrogance was just way over the line, and Chris was over and done with him.
Like law enforcement. I happen to know law enforcement.
You do. So you're an expert in this area.
No, I'm just saying you
Not to shut him up good. That wasn't enough. Chris hit him with this next one.
come off as law enforcement.
Really? You know how you come off?
How's that?
Somebody who's very nervous.
He took a good minute to process that, and that should help him stay mum for a while now. Chris then went on to read from the chats, and the dude looked visibly shocked. Honestly, though, no matter how good an act you put up, nothing's gonna really help you get out of this situation right now. Just when the cameras came out, you wouldn't believe what Chris said.
Is you filming?
We are filming.
I don't want to be on the news, dog.
Well, it's a little late for that, dog.
Whoa, whoa. Did y'all hear that? Chris is just effortlessly cool. How does he even say stuff like that so easily? Must come naturally to him, which is exactly what made the show as iconic as it is. It's wild how each new guy on our list just keeps outdoing the last one. It's like an ongoing spectacle of douchebaggery. Anyway, moving from one douchebag to another, we got this dude.
I made some brownies. You want some?
Oh, no.
Are you sure?
Yeah, can we just go upstairs for a little bit?
Alright, hold it right there. What's the hurry, pally? Alright, this loser who wanted to get straight to business is Ernest Timmons. Timmons brought him something that cements his intentions for the night. A camera. Yeah, dude not only wanted to have a memorable night, but also wanted to carry a few mementos back home. Well, he sure was gonna make a few memories, but that's not the one he'd want to keep. That's because as soon as Chris entered the scene, his personality took an entire new turn. He immediately started playing the victim card, and let me tell ya, sounded like one of the fakest stories I've ever heard. But I guess it was time to cut the crap.
Perfectly. Why do you think I'm just as stunned as you are?
Oh, you're stunned because you got caught.
Wait, Chris had a smile plastered on his face the entire time? That's exactly the kind of calm and content I want. See, Ernest had no intention of accepting what he was at the house to do. He repeatedly blamed some random dude for setting him up. Kinda predictable, right? Who are we messing with, though? Chris decided to drop a bomb.
Who try to meet kids online.
Please, sir.
That's one way to say it, and there's no way of sugarcoating any of it. Well, Chris had always had a way with his words, and that's something nobody can take away from him. See, the kind of stuff Ernest could have been capable of with a camera in hand is pretty disturbing. This next dude was pretty concerned about something entirely different. You see, Anthony Palumbo brought something which he shouldn't have to the house. But this is where things got hilarious.
You can put that in the fridge. Yeah, I'll put it in a little bit. All right.
Yeah, he was persistent in getting those bottles into the fridge. Looks like my man here likes his stuff chilled. He was obsessed with getting the stuff into the refrigerator that he repeatedly, and I mean it on and on, insisted on having them moved to the chiller. Honestly, too bad he didn't even get to enjoy a drop of it. But the internet didn't spare 1 minute to poke fun at him. Let's see what excuses he has up his sleeve, shall we?
No, my brother is home, my other brother.
Right.
And I said, I gotta go to Atlantic City.
But instead you came here.
Yeah, he was on his way to meet his brother and suddenly decided to stop by. In which case, I think he's in the wrong house personally. It was time for him to show who the boss was here.
Like to gamble.
Yeah, I love to gamble.
You took a little bit of a gamble coming in.
I don't think Palumbo understood what Chris meant though, and he tried to play it off in the best way possible, or maybe try to act dumb? I don't know, man. I'm just a narrator. One thing's for sure though, he knew he was in big trouble, and Chris wasn't gonna let him go home too easily. Did you notice something though? Chris was actually trying to have a normal convo, but Palumbo went full throttle.
I'm not gay or anything. I'm just saying.
Well, this isn't about gay
No,
or
I'm
straight.
just saying. I'm straight. I'm
Nobody
just
cares
saying.
what adults do.
Just look at him trying so hard not to lose his shit, but he ended up acting like a complete fool. Chris was definitely trying to keep his cool, but we all know that sassy mouth of his ain't gonna stay quiet for long.
My brother is home, my other brother.
Right.
And I said, I gotta go to Atlantic City.
But instead you came here.
It's those slight blows that made Palumbo lose his cool, and I think he did put up quite a show for us too. Either way, this next loser really got on Chris's nerves big time. And when things got real bad, he had to bring out the big guns and go for it. Now, this guy made this vile story of his into a whole different thing. That's right, I'm talking about Mohammed Abdallah. Interview hadn't even begun and Chris was already raining down sass upon him.
Yeah. And so you just happened to be going by and you saw this blonde woman out there. And she waved at you.
That's one way to put it. Think he'd stop there, right? Well, he didn't.
Yes, she waved
That
at me.
explains everything, doesn't it?
She waved at me.
She just waved at you.
Looks like Chris was having a field day. There was no stopping him. He had his mind set on dressing this douchebag down, and that is exactly what he did.
You just walked right in?
No, not just walking. Just a while. I asked her, what's this door?
What an amazing coincidence.
Chris was totally having the time of his life, making a whole fool out of this guy here, and we're all for it. The way Muhammad was being so confident, he definitely deserved extended time in prison, and Chris made sure he got that memo.
You're a lucky guy. You're just driving along and this good-looking young girl waves you in.
Yeah, the entire truth was out in the open, and Muhammad knew the only option left now was to throw in his religion card and get out of it. And not so fast though, buddy, because it looks like the cops waiting outside would like a word with you. These were some of the times when Chris totally trolled losers who showed up at the Sting House. You can think of more times when Chris absolutely destroyed these idiots with nothing but his words. Make sure to drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to join me on my channel's Discord server for free, where we can talk at length discussing more times when Chris totally nailed the interviews. And for those of you who are always on the lookout for some extra fun, I have an exclusive server just for you. Well, I'm excited to see you there, but before you leave, make sure to smack that like, subscribe, turn on my post notifications, and don't forget to check out my latest video right here. It's even crazier. See you all next time.